blood before the great and notable day of the Lord. That is the day when the spirit of the Antichrist, the idol shepherd, the all-seeing eye, when that spirit is going to rule over mankind and not have pity upon mankind. Cruel authority. Now, I want to go to the book of Deuteronomy. There are certain places in the Bible that I can always go to, and I can see very clearly what's going on. Remember the law. Remember the right eye being put out and the right arm not working. Represents the New Testament. Grace, victory over the sinfulness that comes by the law. God had made a covenant with Israel in Deuteronomy 28. And He told them basically this. He said, when you come into the land and you get settled and everything's working out, He said, I will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. Let's think about the United States of America just for a minute. Because we were the great superpower of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. In other words, to listen to God, to have His law in our hearts, to have a moral society where people didn't have to spy on everybody all the time, because people pretty much lived a moral life. We don't have that anymore in this country. It doesn't exist. Maybe small pockets here and there, but by and large it doesn't exist anymore. The blessings that have come upon our nation, the blessings of the harvest that we have had, the blessings of the financial wealth that we've had, the blessings of our children that we've had, all the blessings, we're running out of time on them. And God says later on that when it shall come to pass, in verse 15, if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God to observe to do all His commandments and statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And I'm going to look at some of these curses, and you're going to kind of get it, because we're looking at the all-seeing eye, the surveillance society that we live in right now. The devil, remember, the devil needs a network. He can't get by without it. And he's going to use that network, and you're going to see some things. Deuteronomy 28:41. This is part of the curse. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters. Thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Everybody that researches the New World Order and the surveillance technology and everything, we get it. We get it. We are in this country, and probably all over the world, we're handing over the authority that the Constitution, the Bible gives us to rule and govern our own lives and our own passions. We're handing that over to the military, the law enforcement agencies, everywhere in this country. We're saying to them, by our lack of morality and our refusal to obey the laws, you better watch everything that goes on around us. Okay? We are bringing ourselves into our own bondage and our own captivity. We will be prisoners right inside of our own homes. We're almost there, people. Deuteronomy 28, verse 54, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. You know what he's saying here? He's saying that your lawlessness and your lack of honoring my ways in your life, in your country, in your family, in your home, in your churches, is that, you know what's going to turn you into? It's going to turn you into a tattletale upon your own house. Wait till you see how that's coming alive today. You need to see this. Deuteronomy 28:68, another aspect of the curse. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spoke unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. There you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. You know, when I was reading this, I just thought it was so interesting that God was speaking about bringing them into the bondage of Egypt. Because really, if you look at the source, the root of the image of the all-seeing eye, what you go back to is the eye of Horus, the sun god, the spirit of Egypt that ruled over and held in bondage the people of Israel, God's people. This is where we're heading right now. And it's a bondage that captivity, that bondage is being brought on by the Spirit represented by the eye that sees everything or seeks to see everything that is going on in the world. Now I mentioned the Vatican a while ago. I mentioned Rome a while ago. Because before we had CCTV cameras, before we had the internet, before we had cell phones, before we had the NSA, before we had the CIA, before we had all of that, for a couple thousand years, and if you want to get technical about it, you could go back into ancient Babylon. Boy, there she is again. One of the books that we put out, The Two Babylons, basically shows you, in fact, let me just say this, for 1,500 years or better, there was one institution in the world that had spies everywhere. And those spies knew the secrets of people. They knew those spies knew all of their thoughts, all of their deeds, all of their intentions. They knew everything. Who were they? The priests in the confessional. They heard the deeds. They heard the intentions. They heard the secrets of the heart. And they're still doing it. A spy network existed. The most powerful spy agency that the earth has ever seen up until now was the Roman Catholic priest. Going all the way back to ancient Babylon, where this idea of a confessional was set up because, and I want you to get this, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. I mean, stop and think about it. Here you are a Roman Catholic priest. Here you are a priest of Babylon. And some high-ranking official comes in, and you know who this guy is. And because you've told him that if he doesn't tell you everything that's going on, he'll burn in hell forever. Well, he's going to tell you everything that's going on. And now you know. Now, everybody says, the sanctity of the confessional, we never divulge. Baloney! Baloney! Do you really believe that? There's a young man in my church, some of you know him, came out of the Mormon church. And he stopped me in my tracks one day when he said that he had to confess, as a Mormon, he had to confess all of his sins to his bishop. I went, I know where that comes from. I know exactly. That's knowledge is power. And he feared those people whom he knew some of his secrets. And he didn't tell them everything. But I'm glad that I have a Father in heaven that I tell all of my secrets to, and I go boldly before the throne of grace to find mercy and help in time of need. Praise the Lord that Bible Christianity doesn't teach this kind of garbage. Praise the Lord. And so for thousands of years, this religious mystery Babylon cult has had power through knowledge, a spy network of men who reported in, who knew the secrets of everybody under their control. So let's go back to September 11th, 2001. September 11th, 2001. And that started from that day a 46-day time frame. 46, think about that for a while. A 46-day time frame that leads us to October the 26th, 2001. I mean, you have to stop and think about this. Here we are, September 11th, 2001, and we've just been invaded in this country by terrorists. Oh my goodness, I remember, it was awful. Worst day that I could imagine. We probably have a worse day coming. And just like within a time frame of 46 days, all of a sudden we have a 400-page bill called Uniting. Boy, it sounds good, doesn't it? Uniting and Strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism act of 2001. Uniting and Strengthening USA, Uniting and Strengthening America by PATRIOT, USA Patriot Act. This act basically said, you know what, the Bill of Rights, We don't need them anymore. I mean, they just don't work. Okay, they just don't work. Now, a lot of you remember, we've been talking about this ever since Barack Obama came in office. All the little dirty dealings that have been going on over the health care legislation, 2,000 pages of health care legislation that nobody read, all of these TARP funds going out, these bills being passed that both sides of Congress were voting on in committee and approving, and all of a sudden what they voted on and approved on was not what was presented on the House floor for vote. We all know that, and we just went crazy that stuff happened. That's them Democrats for you. Them Democrats, I tell you what, they're dirty deeds. Man, they switched the bills all of a sudden. Maybe you didn't know this, or maybe you just forgot about it in 10 years' time. But just like the health care bill, they present this bill out to be voted on, and no one's read it. Do you know why? Because the original bill that was done and open, worked out between the Republicans and the Democrats and the Bush White House, hammered out saying, here's what we need to do, this is what we need to fix. 3:45 in the morning, before the bill was to be voted on in the House, what the Democrats in the House and the Senate and the Republicans hashed out and worked on together, that was pushed aside, and the White House version was injected in at 3:45 in the morning. One congressman even got up on the floor of the House the morning of the vote, and he said, the ink is still wet on this thing. This is not what we agreed to. And 300 to 400 pages of a Patriot Act bill that no one in the House of Representatives read, and almost everybody voted on it. And it was approved. It's the law of the land. Amongst the million things that it probably did, gives the government the ability to do what's called sneak and peek. In other words, government agents. Now, here again, the Constitution, it's like the Bible. It shouldn't be changed, shouldn't be altered. Okay? Constitution said that the people of this country have a right to their papers and effects. Okay, and the government cannot, with due process, look at your papers or your effects, your private material, right to privacy. Patriot Act said it's of no use to us, really. I mean, as the government, how can we be expected to govern everybody if we can't know what everybody's doing? That's what the Patriot Act did. So the Patriot Act, without a warrant, you see in all these cop shows, I went in and I found marijuana. Did you have a warrant? No, it's out. Doesn't count with the Patriot Act. Patriot Act says the government agents have a right to go in your house behind your back without yours or anybody's knowledge, break into your house, go through your stuff, put a keylogger on your computer, hack into your email, put something on there where they can track your Wi-Fi and know everything there is to know about you before you get home that day for dinner. You have no right to know that they did it. That's the Patriot Act. Knowledge is power. Patriot Act did a lot of other things too. It set up what's called the Information Awareness Office. I like this. This is a snippet from the Wikipedia article concerning the Information Awareness Office. It was established by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, in January 2002. How convenient. Right after 9/11, to bring together several DARPA projects focused on applying surveillance and information technology to track and monitor terrorists. Stop right here. In the Babel conspiracy video that we